that crucial hearing at the Supreme Court, which we're now understanding that hearing, in fact, has now begun. Remember, the Supreme Court is all set to hear suspended BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma's plea once again today, citing renewed threats after the Supreme Court's previous unexpected and strong criticism of her. Nupur Sharma once again has approached the top court to halt her possible arrest and club all the various cases against her. Siddhant, I believe, is now back with us. Siddhant, very interestingly, this is exactly the same bench that had those very strict and scathing observations and that criticism against Nupur Sharma when the case had been heard the first time around on the 1st of July.
Well, that's correct. This is a modification petition that has been filed in the Supreme Court, and interestingly, this is being heard by the same vacation bench, Justice Surikant and Justice Pardiwala. And now Mr. Maninder Singh has started his submission, and he says in the court that subsequent developments have come up. More death threats. Someone from Pakistan has come to kill the girl. There are various reports. So Maninder Singh is citing the media reports, the story that in fact we also flashed this afternoon, that one person has been apprehended by forces who has come to kill Nupur Sharma from Pakistan. And here Mr. Singh is requesting court to invoke Article 21. And Mr. Singh says in the court that the allegation is one, there is no need for multiple FIRs, and there is also a serious threat to Nupur Sharma's life, and the threat is genuine and real. West Bengal has registered 3 more FIRs. My lordship are the protector of Article 21. Now, interestingly, there are 2 precedents in the past, which I would like to read out for our viewers. In 2020, journalist versus government that expanded the ruling, and in which multiple FIRs were clubbed in one. And at the same time, there is one other case also. In which which serves as a precedence in this matter. So Article 20 in subsection 2 of the Constitution guarantees the right against double jeopardy, and multiple FIRs means multiple trials, and this is perhaps the reason that last time also and this time around also the lawyers of Nupur Sharma have filed this petition to club the FIRs, because going by the orders in the last cases, popular case of 2020 journalist versus the Maharashtra government, then there is one case of Kerala in 2001 where the FIRs were clubbed. So going by the law,
let's just break this point by point for our viewers. Essentially, the point that the legal team of Nupur Sharma has been making, that the allegation is the same. So why hop from one city to another as far as these various FIRs are concerned? Why can't you just club them? So what I want to first understand is how many in total of these FIRs are currently against Nupur Sharma?
Well, look, there are multiple FIRs that have been lodged in the state of West Bengal, in Maharashtra, and in fact there are multiple summons also that have been issued to Nupur Sharma. Now this petition also highlights the threat that Nupur Sharma is facing right now, and also this petition also demands expunging of the observation which was made by the bench in the last hearing. So these two are also the requests that have been made in the petition. Now, Justice Surikant has said that now you are explaining that going to different high courts and imminent threat to life. Is this your case, subject to the submission of the respondents? Now judges are discussing. This is what Ananya is reporting. And I want to show 2 things in this matter. What you have done earlier is that you have allowed first FIR to go on and others are stayed, and no coercive action is granted. Singh, as he shows other cases. So Mr. Singh, the advocate of Nupur Sharma, is trying to explain it to the court that her life is under threat. At the same time, the 2 precedents are already available before the court in which the FIRs were clubbed. So law doesn't believe in multiple trials. Multiple FIRs means multiple trials in the same offense. So the request is to club the FIRs and hand over the case to the Delhi police. So this is what Nupur Sharma's lawyers have been demanding, and now Ananya is reporting the judges are discussing something.
Correct. Okay.
We'll
So,
keep
Siddharth,
our viewers
we'll continue
updated.
to come back to you even as we continue to look at all the updates that our colleague Ananya is also putting for us. But I'll just request you to stay on with us. Let me bring in our guests who are joining us this afternoon as well. We have lawyer and political analyst Kapil Madan. We also have a lawyer from the Supreme Court, Ashutosh Srivastava. Good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. Ashutosh, let me begin with you first. Was it warranted or was it excessive? That really has been the debate as far as those strong words that we heard from the top court the first time around. Is this plea maintainable? Let's begin with that as far as Nupur Sharma is concerned.
First to begin with, if anybody is saying anything against a religion, it is not at all acceptable in this country. Obviously, that's a different issue. And accordingly, the FIRs have been registered.
But that
and
has
the
been
matter is
discussed.
under
There was action
investigation.
taken by a political party also. That's a separate issue.
Yes,
Let's focus on what's taking place as far as the top court is concerned.
Now, when we talk about the legality of it, now, there is a provision, section 223 in the Criminal Procedure Code, which says that a person should not be prosecuted for the same offense by different courts and by different, police stations registering different FIRs. So, in previous instances also, Supreme Court has clubbed these kind of FIRs being registered in different states for the same set of an offense being alleged to have been committed by any accused. And if we see even, Babulal versus the state of Gujarat, which was decided by the Supreme Court in 2010, in which the Supreme Court has clarified that position also, that there should not be multiple FIRs being registered for the same offense, and this requires to be clubbed. However, in this matter, the court will see further the merit of this particular case, and previously also considering the merits of the previous cases, Supreme Court had decided accordingly. So there is a provision, no doubt, for clubbing of the FIR, but now it is up to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to decide on that. See what happens if any crime is alleged to have happened or committed by any accused. The FIR is generally registered at the police station where under whose jurisdiction the crime has alleged to have happened. Now, in this case, since it was a debate on the news channel, and it is very difficult to ascertain any particular place in whose police station jurisdiction it happened. So, since it was aired and accordingly, whoever watched that interview registered the FIR as per wherever the person has watched that news piece, and accordingly the FIRs have been registered. Now, as a matter of fact, and the legality involved into it, there cannot be separate and different prosecutions for the same offense alleged to have happened. Obviously, if somebody has committed a crime, the person needs to be prosecuted under that section in a particular jurisdiction where it has happened, or maybe clubbing all these FIRs together at one place, and then the trial can be continued. Now, if a person who has been
so you're essentially saying if the allegation is
the
same, then a clubbing of these FIRs can take place. Okay, so we'll really have to see how that moves. But I want to bring in Kapil Madan as well. Kapil Madan, the other big question that is being raised over the last couple of weeks is that with that very strong criticism that came from the Supreme Court, where one of the observations that were made was that whatever happened in Udaipur, where we saw that very unfortunate barbaric beheading, that was because of the comments that were made by Nupur Sharma. So was this actually an overreach as far as the Supreme Court is concerned?
Let us see, Ridhimaji, understand the backdrop of the entire circumstances in which this observation was made. Now, you may recall when this incident happened, there was no apology, there was no repentance offered by Nupur Sharma, and it was only after the backlash that happened from the Gulf countries, and after the termination, the termination of Nupur Sharma by Bharatiya Janata Party, only thereafter an apology was sought. And you must also remember, Nupur Sharma publicly also in one of the interview made a remark that she is getting support from higher ups, be it Home Ministry. She also mentioned about Devendra Fadnavis. So the point I'm trying to make here is that when you are in a public space, when you hold a political position, then you should be absolutely careful in what you are saying, because your words will be imputed to the party that you will represent. And in this situation, it is the ruling party
No, but
that is.
Kapil, that's where it becomes problematic, right? So action had already been taken against Nupur Sharma. The party had already suspended her from the primary membership. She was no more the spokesperson.
Yeah.
And the government also made its position very, very clear. There was a legal action that was taking place as well. But when you liken the barbaric act that took place in broad daylight in Udaipur, it's almost giving a clean sheet that somebody makes a comment and it's okay to go and behead somebody then. That's where it became problematic. But I'll just come back to our guests in just a bit. Siddhant continues to be with us. Siddhant, do we have an update as far as the Supreme Court is concerned?
Well, that's correct. So, Mr. Singh, Nupur Sharma's advocate, is making a point in the Supreme Court, his point in the Supreme Court, that first FIR is in Delhi, criminal allegation is the same, it is the same telecast of program is the subject matter. And in fact, her lawyer is also saying this in court, that new FIRs and complaints are also stayed. So, in such cases, going by the past instances, the fresh FIRs and complaints were also stopped by Supreme Court's intervention. So the similar is the demand this time around, and right now the judges are discussing something.
Okay.
This is what Ananya is reporting. So basically, as our esteemed guests were also highlighting, that there cannot be multiple trials for one alleged offence, and in fact section 20 subsection 2 of the Constitution gives protection from multiple trial. And last time also, if you remember, that there was an open letter which was written to the Chief Justice by concerned citizens, former judges, civil servants and veterans, and in that also this point was highlighted, that this is a fundamental right of anyone to move Supreme Court and ask for clubbing of FIR. And in fact, those who fall on the other side of the political equilibrium were also not very happy with the way Supreme Court, where the hearing was conducted last time in Nupur Sharma's case.
So the judges are currently discussing. We'll have to see what update comes as far as that proceeding is concerned. But let me continue the conversation with our guest. Ashutosh, the other problematic issue is that these were only observations. They never made it as far as the final order is concerned. So the problem was that there was already a sense of possibly coloring what the legal outcome could be as the investigation goes on.
Yeah. The question is not whether the accused has committed a crime or not. That is obviously under investigation, and it is being investigated by the concerned police stations where the FIRs have been registered. Now, without going into deep into the merits of the case about the alleged offense being committed by the accused, now the question is whether she should be prosecuted multiple times for the same set of offense for which the FIR has been registered at different places. The law says no to it. This is what the law is about, because you cannot prosecute a person who has alleged an offense multiple times at different places. So that is the crux of the matter here. So far as speaking legally, obviously the court see now whether it should allow the clubbing of the FIRs, because even if she has to apply for any sort of relief or for for bail or anything, so she will have to file to all these places where the FIRs are registered. So that is what, and if we see the previous precedents of the Supreme Court, and also if it is in a one particular state, then the High Court, that they have considered such kind of petitions. I don't know as to what will happen here. It will also depend on the merit of this particular case. But as a matter of fact, and considering the legality, it will be convenient even for the investigating agencies that if it is clubbed together
Yeah.
and they do the proper investigation and then they submit the charge sheet against the accused,
Yeah, that's actually
what
the
sort
question
of
that I was
a
getting to. That
crime
won't it
she has
actually
committed.
streamline the process even for the agencies themselves if they have just one to look into if the allegation is actually the same, whereas across FIRs. But I'll just request Ashutosh to stay on with us. Kapil, leaving the legal aspect aside, there is also another aspect as far as the right to safety for Nupur Sharma is involved. While I said, law will take its own course, look at the kind of threats that she's got, and this is exactly what she said this time around as well, that post those scathing observations and criticism, those threats actually have increased, and it's for everybody to see what's happening across the country. Her residential address has been splashed across social media, phone numbers have been splashed across social media. Doesn't she also have a right as far as safety is concerned, which is a basic right that me and you also would want?
So Ridhima, she has all the rights under the law. She can approach the concerned High Court and seek for a protection order. And these kind of petitions are not unusual. These kind of petitions are filed almost every day in courts where someone is facing any form of a threat. And after looking into the entire facts and circumstances of the case, the court passes the appropriate order. So if there is a threat, of course, there is, I mean, if, we can't really ignore, I mean, there could be a possibility that she has a genuine threat. In that situation, the Supreme Court has not foreclosed her right to move or to file any appropriate petition before the concerned court and to seek an appropriate order seeking protection. Also, we have also seen in the past that the central government also provides the security, Z security, Y security after analyzing the threat perception of any individual, and they grant security. And given the fact that Nupur comes from Bharatiya Janata Party, and if she is facing a threat, I mean, the center should actually do a threshold analysis whether there is an actual threat or not. And if there is a threat, the central government should provide her the security.
Okay. I'll just request a guest to stay on with us. We're getting some updates also now coming in. The Supreme Court has gone on to say we understand the threats and now we're understanding the matter. In fact, has been posted for hearing for the 10th of August. That's the big update that's coming in. Till then, no coercive action against the petitioner. That's the big word that's coming in from the court. As an interim measure, no coercive action shall be taken against the petitioner. Siddhant continues to be with us. So Siddhant, big update coming in. One matter has been posted for hearing for the 10th of August, but also as an interim measure, this will be big relief that no coercive action shall be taken against the petitioner here, Nupur Sharma.
Well, that's correct. So there are two major takeaways from today's hearing. One, the matter has been posted for hearing on 10th of August and the copies of the writ petition will be supplied to the respondents. Now, respondents in the matter are the state governments which have filed FIRs against Nupur Sharma. Also, interim relief has been granted to Nupur Sharma. No coercive action shall be taken against the petitioner. So it's a big relief for Nupur Sharma, which she and her lawyers have been trying to get from the Supreme Court. And also, court has asked Nupur's lawyer to file one additional affidavit mentioning the two recent threats that have been received by Nupur Sharma. One is obviously of that Pakistani who has been apprehended, and the other one which has been mentioned by Mr. Singh in the court. So these are the three major takeaways in the Supreme Court. The matter has been kept for hearing on 10th of August. Also, Supreme Court, while dictating order and recording submissions, made it very clear that this court on 1st July had asked the petitioner to take the alternative remedy. In support of a plea, the petitioner has averred that after her orders, various incidences including threat, SC notes Chishti's remark wherein he asked for cutting off petitioner's threat. SC also notes the video of another person who abused her and gave life threats. So SC has taken note of all these threats that have been received by Nupur Sharma, and in fact SC has clarified that last time around she was asked to go for another alternative remedy. But since she has been getting the threat and she is not in a state to go to the high courts, respective high courts, for the quashing of FIRs, so this order has been given. Interim relief has been granted to Nupur Sharma against any coercive measure. The matter has also been kept for the another hearing on 10th of August. A writ petition will be given to the respondents in this matter, the state governments, and in fact the additional affidavit has also been asked to be filed by Nupur's lawyer, mentioning the two recent threats that she has received. So big relief.
So Siddhant, I'll just request you to stay on with us. So it is a big relief, as we said, for the now suspended spokesperson of the BJP, Nupur Sharma, because essentially there will be no coercive action. The matter has now been posted for the 10th of August. I believe my colleague Anusha is also now joining us from the newsroom. Anusha, could you first talk to us about the big takeaways where the Supreme Court has taken note of the various threats which was part of this plea of Nupur Sharma, and what can we expect from here on?
Well, let's distill down this crucial order that has come from the Supreme Court. As our colleague Ananya reports from the courtroom, I think the major takeaway is that there were multiple FIRs that were being filed in different parts of the country. What is the immediate threat a person in a case like this really faces? That he or she will be summoned by the magistrate or the local thanas repeatedly, and keeping the threats into mind, there was a serious concern for her life. Keeping all of that into mind, the Supreme Court has granted a major relief. Though they have not given a direct order of clubbing of the FIRs together, but they have said no coercive action. That means she can't be summoned anywhere. That means no court or a magistrate, a court really ask her to come there. Police thanas can't do that. The FIRs stay where they were. The second part of it, and it's a rather technical part.
Anusha, I apologize for interrupting. I'll just come back to you in 30 seconds. I believe our colleague Ananya is also now joining us on the broadcast, and he's been getting us these updates from inside the courtroom. Ananya, over to you. Talk to us about what was discussed today and what has the court taken cognizance of today.
Well, yes, definitely a big day for Nupur Sharma. Completely a very, very big relief coming in. In fact, a very, very massive relief coming in for Nupur Sharma, wherein the Supreme Court has in fact granted interim protection to Nupur Sharma until 10th of August. It is clearly said that no coercive action shall be taken against her, and in fact there shall be stay on the proceedings in all of these FIRs, whether it's in Delhi, whether it's in West Bengal or any other state. In fact, it has also went on to say that there are serious threat to her life. Remember that senior advocate Maninder Singh, who is appearing for Nupur Sharma, has clearly pointed out various life threats, including that of the Aligarh of Salman Chisti, who had given out a serious threat to her life, clearly saying that whoever beheads her can in fact get his house. So now these threats were in fact mentioned before the topmost court of the country. The court took note of this and has now completely asked for a no coercive action against her until the next date of hearing, and it has invited response from all of the states, which include Maharashtra, which include West Bengal, which also includes the national capital, to in fact give out and explore the remedies that she can avail and how she can avail this remedy wherein she won't face a threat to her life. So we are seeing a very big relief coming in for Nupur Sharma. Her advocate, in fact, Justice Suryakant, Justice J.B. Pardiwala, has now paved the way for Nupur Sharma to in fact exercise her legal remedies, to go get bail, go in fact get a quashing done, and in fact she can avail all kinds of reliefs, and she is protected by the Supreme Court until the 10th of August when the Supreme Court hears the matter. But now what is very, very interesting to see is that how the states would respond to this petition, to these in fact remarks, and also what kind of in fact a legal remedy or a recourse the states would suggest the Supreme Court that can be granted to Nupur Sharma, so that there is no threat to her life and she can avail her legal remedies.
Right. Ananya, I'll just request you to stay on with us. So, Anusha, taking on exactly from what Ananya is also pointing out, it is going to be a relief for Nupur Sharma. The FIRs stay where they are. But I want to now understand what next for Nupur Sharma. What are the legal remedies and routes that she can avail at this stage?
See, Ridhima, as Ananya was pointing out, that these are FIRs in multiple states across the country. The clubbing of FIRs is a very ordinary legal process, a relief which is granted to most accused, because the process cannot be used as a punishment against any accused in this country. Even accused have a right to life and liberty, and all those rights are protected by the Supreme Court. An important technical bit that I was earlier talking about, that Article 32 has been invoked to seek this remedy. which means the extraordinary jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India has been invoked. This means that the petitioners did not go by the usual norms of the CRPC but have pointed out to the extraordinary threat of life that pervades. Another important point to note forward is that the departure from the earlier tone and tenor of the hearing.
Absolutely.
In the last hearing, there were some very stringent remarks that were made against Nupur Sharma. This time, the judges were very, very limited in the oral observations that they have given out.
Absolutely. That's exactly the question that I wanted to take to Ananya. There is a stark difference because, as I said when I started this show, it is the same bench which is hearing this case once again, which is the bench which had heard the case on the 1st of July. There has been a big difference in the tone and tenor from those scathing observations where they likened what happened in Udaipur to the comments made by Nupur Sharma, thus raising the question that in the first instance itself, was there an overreach?
Well, yes, definitely there has been a change of tone and tenor, but this is not something new. But because there have been a change in the circumstance, there have been more and more threats that have been coming in onto Nupur Sharma. In fact, we saw how Chisti's remarks were very scathing, and in fact, he had said that anybody who beheads Nupur Sharma and comes back would get his home. So such remarks, and seeing this situation, such a grave situation, the Supreme Court had to change its ways, Supreme Court had to change its tone and tenor, and now grant this relief. Also, one thing to point out is the Article 32 jurisdiction of the court is not an extraordinary power, but then a very general aspect. It's a normal writ petition aspect which Nupur Sharma had invoked in the first time, and there was no breach of the criminal proceedings that she had done. Apart from this, what is very, very crucial to notice is what the states would say in their response, because the states have been asked to explore the remedies that Nupur Sharma can avail and the way in which she can avail these remedies at a time, and also remembering that she stays protected and nothing happens to her life and liberty, because as Mr. Singh had clearly mentioned before the topmost court of the country, that the Supreme Court is the protector of Article 21, that is the right to life, and hence such a Article 32 jurisdiction was invoked in the first time, and now a modification application was filed before the topmost court of the country seeking a change in its order and asking for a protection which clearly has been granted by a bench of Justice Suryakant and Justice J.B. Pardiwala, saying that there is immense threat to her life, and hence inter agnema protection, interim protection is very, very necessary. That has to be granted to Nupur Sharma. In fact, notices have been issued to various states, and we'll have to wait and watch as to
what
how
the responses of those various states are. Correct. Yeah, absolutely. A big change as far as the tone and tenor is concerned. So, in interim relief to Nupur Sharma, and also the matter now has been posted for the next hearing, which is scheduled for the 10th of August. I'd like to thank my colleagues Anusha as well as Ananya. I quickly want to go back to our guests who continue to be with us, lawyer and political analyst Kapil Madan, and we also have from the Supreme Court lawyer Ashutosh Srivastava. Kapil, your first reaction and interim relief being given. The Supreme Court also realizes that the situation when it first heard the case from the 1st of July to now has changed. There has been a renewed perception as far as the increased threats are concerned.
Vidima, sorry, I lost the voice. Can you repeat that, please?
I was essentially asking your first reaction to what we've seen from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also essentially understanding that the situation has drastically changed from the 1st of July to now. There has been an increased threat perception as far as Nupur Sharma is concerned. So that interim relief and protection at this stage was crucial for Nupur Sharma.
Yes, so Ridhima, we need to see that the Supreme Court needs to balance the scale of justice. Now, Supreme Court is also mindful of the fact that there could be a situation where she was facing threat, and that is the reason why the court has asked this.
I'll just request you to stay on with us. I apologize. We in fact have Mahir Jetmalali now joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking to us here at CNN News 18. Your first reaction to what played out in the Supreme Court just a few minutes ago.
Well, it's a welcome step, and it's in conformity with law. When you have multiple FIRs on the same cause of action, you can't have repeated investigations on the same allegation, the same FIR, just lodged in different cities. So the Supreme Court has acted in conformity with law. It's protected her. And they've kept the case on the 10th when they'll give further orders. So let's see how this pans out. But the first step was, to protect her from arrest because she was facing arrest. And obviously the Supreme Court is also influenced by the fact that, she's been facing many death threats. Some of which seem to be, grave and can't be taken lightly.
So the biggest concern as far as this plea was is if the allegation is same, then why should the petitioner here, Nupur Sharma, have to hop to different cities as far as these various FIRs is concerned? Why did this not happen in the first instance as well?
Well, I don't think it was ruled out in the first instance. It was never ruled out, right? In any case, the change in circumstances is that she's receiving multiple threats all over the country now. Try and obtain relief and face interrogation in other countries is fraught with danger given the nature of the threats. One tailor has already been executed in Udaipur for merely supporting Nupur Sharma.
So also today there was a big difference as far as the tone and tenor was concerned. The last time around, the scathing observations had also said that what happened in Udaipur was because of the comments of Nupur Sharma. Was there an overreach as far as the first observations were concerned?
Look, I don't want to get into that. I mean, I wasn't present. I'm present in the country when the first observations were made. So I really don't know. But, that's in the past now. And, we have to see that justice is done to everybody concerned. And for the present, all I can say, the Supreme Court has, taken a step which redounds to justice and protects the petitioner. But doesn't, it's an interim measure. Let's see what happens on the 10th.
Okay. I will have to leave that conversation there. We also have a petitioner, Ashok Sajjanar, also now joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for taking our time and speaking to us here at CNN News 18. How do you react to what took place today as far as the Supreme Court is concerned?
Well, I still have to have a closer look at what the discussions and the judgment in the Supreme Court has been. So I cannot really make a very authoritative comment at this stage, but the conversation that I've heard so far, it appears that relief is sought to be provided to Nupur Sharma in terms of clubbing her cases. At least it is moving in that direction. And there have not been any sort of comments which have been out of, which are not strictly related to the case as was the case last time, as a result of which I think there was quite a concern and anxiety that was expressed in the country by large segments of people. So I think the movement today has been positive. It's in the right direction. And we really would like to look forward, see forward, how things are moving. And I think till the 10th of next month, the stay has been provided in terms of any action to be taken against Nupur Sharma. And I think that's a welcome move, and the law should take its own course moving forward.
Law should take its own course. I also quickly want to understand, do you think today the Supreme Court was also understandable of the fact that the situation has changed drastically? There have been open threats given to Nupur Sharma, across the country, rape threats, death threats, and that factor of basic safety, that also needed to be understood as far as Nupur Sharma was concerned.
Yes, you're right, Maria, but I think in my very limited understanding of the case, the threats had been posited earlier also, and that was one of the basic fundamental reasons and causes why Nupur Sharma had...
Sir, I'll just request you to stay on with us. From the BJP, Dilip Ghosh is also now joining us. Sir, your first reaction to what we've seen play out in the Supreme Court today?
देखिए, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ये निर्णय आया है, मुझे लगता है कि स्वागत योग्य है, क्योंकि जिस प्रकार से नुपुर शर्मा को बिना सुनवाई के, बिना उनको पक्ष रखने मौका दिए, जिस प्रकार से न्यायाधीश से लेके बाकी लोग उन पर कमेंट कर रहे थे, ये हमारे कानून व्यवस्था के खिलाफ है। कोई भी मुजरिम हो, उनको बिना सुनवाई हुए, उनको पक्ष रखने ना देते हुए उनको मुजरिम घोषणा करना और कोई सर कलम करने की, कोई और सजा देने की धमकी दे रहा था, ये इससे पूरा समाज आहत हुए थे। लोगों ने इसका आलोचना भी की थी। आज उन्होंने एक अपील की थी कि सारा मामला एक जगह लाया जाए और उनका सुनने के मौका दिया जाए, और दिए बिना उनको मुजरिम करार दिया था। मुझे लगता है कि ये अच्छा है सबके लिए, अगर वो गलती की तो उनको भी सजा होनी चाहिए, लेकिन वो उनका पक्ष रखने का बाद ही होना चाहिए कानून की व्यवस्था के अनुसार। और उनके प्रतिक्रिया में जिन लोगों ने जो कार्रवाई की थी, किसी को हत्या करना, धमकी देना, उनके बारे में भी कोर्ट को सोचना चाहिए कि ये जो वातावरण बनाया जा रहा है पूरा देश में, जब तक नुपुर शर्मा ही एकमात्र दोषी है, बाकी सब ठीक है, ये ठीक नहीं है। इस मामले में जो लोग भी कानून के खिलाफ गए सबके बारे में सोचना चाहिए।
तो सर, जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि सुनवाई से पहले ही उनको एक क्रिमिनल घोषित कर दिया गया था, क्या आपको लगता है पिछली बार जो हियरिंग हुई थी उसमें एक ओवररीच था सुप्रीम कोर्ट का?
हियरिंग तो होनी ही नहीं। उन्होंने एक अपील की थी कि सारा केसेस को एक कोर्ट में लाया जाए कि वो उनका सामना कर सके, लेकिन उसके ऊपर जो कमेंट न्यायाधीशों ने की है उसको लेकर पूरा देश में प्रतिक्रिया हुई, लोग आहत हुए। और जिन लोगों ने खुलेआम उनको धमकी दे रहे थे, एक महिला के बारे में जिस प्रकार शब्द प्रयोग किया जा रहा था, ये कतई समर्थनीय नहीं है। उसका भी इसमें चर्चा होना चाहिए, उसका भी सुनवाई होनी चाहिए। और दोषी कोई भी हो, सजा तो भुगतना ही है। और पार्टी से लेकर सरकार सब लोगों ने उस पर कार्रवाई की थी। अब कानून के हाथ में है तो कानून को इस मामले में पूरा धैर्य से कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए।
Okay. I'll just request you to stay on with us. We also have from the NCP, Majid Memon also now joining us. Good to have you on the broadcast with us. Your first reaction to what we've seen play out in the Supreme Court, a stark difference to those scathing observations and comments that came the first time around to this time around a more understandable Supreme Court of the threat perception against Nupur Sharma as well.
Well, this is nothing surprising. Whenever a petitioner approaches Supreme Court for bail in anticipation of arrest, the Supreme Court is expected to hear both sides before coming to conclusions on merits. So now, since the petitioner has approached and the respondents are to be heard, there is some passage of time. And during that time, the court ordinarily grants interim relief, which has been granted to this particular bail seeker. And therefore, there is nothing. And as far as the earlier comments, etc., are concerned, I have my own doubts because those comments were not part of record. They were only oral observations.
Yeah, that's actually the question, that why they were only part of observations. Why didn't they make it to the final order?
No, that's right. Now let the court pass orders, whichever way the court deems just. The court may, in favor of the petitioner or against the petitioner, that would be the prerogative of the court after hearing both sides fully. And since this matter has created a lot of noise and a lot of unrest throughout the country, I think the Supreme Court will do justice to the whole matter, and it should hear after this exercise by Supreme Court, the controversy should rest at peace. It must say it up.
Okay. We'll unfortunately have to leave the conversation there. I'd like to thank Majid Menon, Ashok Sajjanar, the petitioner, Dilip Ghosh from the BJP, all our colleagues as well. That's the big update that's come in from the Supreme Court. In interim relief given to Nupur Sharma, no coercive action can be taken till the 10th of August. This is when the matter has been posted for next. This is a story that we'll keep tracking very, very closely. For now, slipping into a very short break.
Will find a new home in the Madhya Pradesh National Park. In fact, it's being brought under the Intercontinental Translocation Project. An MOU will be signed with South Africa. For the program, preparations have been on for housing 12 to 15 cheetahs. From August, the fastest animal on earth was declared extinct in India in 1952. A Delhi court upheld the conviction of Sushil and Gopal Ansal for tampering with evidence in the connection with the 1997 Upar cinema fire, which claimed 59 lives. The court will hear fresh arguments for the quantum of sentence tomorrow. One co-accused in the case, Anup Singh, has been acquitted. The CBI has registered a case against former IOA President Narinder Batra in an alleged corruption case. The agency also conducted searches at his premises in 5 locations in Delhi and Jammu. Earlier this year, the CBI received a complaint alleging that 35 lakhs of Hockey India money was used for Batra's personal benefits. A damning report and new footage indicates police inaction during the mass shooting that took place at a school in Texas in Uvalde back in May.
An overall lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making. That's how a new investigation report describes the law enforcement response in the Uvalde school shooting. The report repeatedly notes a lack of clear command during the shooting. It lists 376 members of law enforcement on the scene, including many from federal agencies.
There is multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions.
But investigators didn't find any responders acted maliciously. In fact, these officers helped children and teachers escape.
I got another kid.
What are we doing here?
The report gives families more answers, but little comfort.
Meanwhile, in New York, there were long queues of people waiting to get the monkeypox vaccine. With nearly 500 cases, the city has become the epicenter of the outbreak of the disease in the U.S., but only 9,200 slots became available on a dedicated website this weekend. Within 7 minutes, all slots were full. The race for the next UK PM is heating up. The Conservative Party leadership contest is now headed to its final stage, and former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak looks certain to be one of the top two candidates to replace Boris Johnson. UK's former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch is the wild card in this tightly contested race. So where do things stand right now for Rishi Sunak? Round 1 of voting, it happened on the 13th of July. He secured 88 votes, which was the highest of all the candidates. He was ranked number 1. Round 2 happened on the 14th of July. He secured 101 votes in that as well. Again, he led the pack of Conservative hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands. There are still more rounds to go. On the 19th of July, which is tomorrow, there will be round 4, and on the 20th, there will be round 5. And finally, the final round that happens later this week on the 21st of July, it will whittle down the field to just the final 2 contenders. And the final decision will be revealed on the 5th of September. Russian forces struck Pokrovsk, a city in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The city was hit twice with Iskander-M ballistic missiles, leaving at least 1 person dead and 14 injured. According to officials on ground, 30 buildings in the city were damaged as a result of the strike. The United States has decided not to impose any sanctions against India for purchasing the S-400 missile systems, the defense systems from Russia. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a legislative amendment which waives off any punitive sanctions on India under CAATSA. The U.S. is supporting India amid China's growing belligerence. India has also signed a $5 billion deal with Russia for 5 units of the S-400 air defense systems. Then, President of the United States, Donald Trump, had warned of sanctions in retaliation to this purchase. Sri Lanka's acting president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has declared a state of emergency as citizens struggle to get their hands on basic necessities.
I'm in Colombo at one of the few gas stations that's actually pumping petrol right now. We had to drive around past at least 2 or 3 before we found this one, and we could spot the fact that it was open because the line was stretching not even around the block, but like several blocks down.
In Sri Lanka these days, they say petrol is more precious than gold, which explains the heavily armed guards.
I've never seen anything quite like this. We've been talking to people waiting in these lines, some of them waiting as long as 6 days.
Long queues at fuel stations in Sri Lanka is the new normal.
How long have you been waiting here?
Since Monday, like 6 days.
6 days?
Yeah.
The situation is so dire that many people are ditching their cars and motorcycles for bicycles for their daily commute.
Star England all-rounder and 2019 World Cup final hero Ben Stokes made a surprise announcement that he's retiring from one-day cricket. The 31-year-old said that playing all 3 formats has become unsustainable for him.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. We're getting some details now coming in. The Karnataka Congress has complained to the Chief Electoral Officer. They've registered a complaint against the NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu, alleging that all the BJP MLAs were summoned to a 5-star hotel and then provided luxurious rooms, food, liquor, etc. All of this in the guise of training MLAs to vote. And this amounts to bribery and undue influence on voters. So the Karnataka Congress now filing a complaint, as I said, against NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu. Harish Upadhyay now joining us with more details. Harish, what are the allegations that are being made by the Karnataka Congress at this point?
Well, all the 120-odd MLAs of the BJP were at a resort on the outskirts of Bengaluru on Saturday and Sunday. They were asked to assemble there on Saturday afternoon. And the Congress now says that this amounts to bribing them and influencing the voters in the presidential election. and they've approached the Karnataka Chief Electoral Officer with this complaint, saying that the office should take note of this. They're saying that they were kept at this five-star hotel and provided luxurious rooms, food and liquor, and they have been influenced by the BJP to vote for their presidential candidate, and this needs to be looked into by the Chief Electoral Office. Remember, this is not the first state where such allegation has been made, but Congress here taking the official route and complaining to the Chief Electoral Officer.
Has there been a response from the BJP so far, Harish?
Well, the BJP hasn't responded yet, but the BJP at the beginning of this stay at the resort on the outskirts of Bengaluru had said that this was a gathering to ensure that MLAs are trained to or told how to go about the whole process, and they're trained about it, and that they want to ensure that all the votes, party votes, go to the NDA candidate, and there's absolutely no way that a vote gets declared invalid, and that's the reason all of them are gathering. There was a bit of a criticism that MLAs, especially from North Karnataka, which is facing flood-like situation, were also summoned. Some of the MLAs were not very keen on staying 2 days in the resort. They wanted to directly come and vote on Monday in Vidhan Sabha, but the party insisted that all of them gather there. On Saturday, that is the justification given by the BJP on Saturday, saying that...
Harish, I'll just request you to stay on with us. I apologize for interrupting. We have from the KPCC, Saket Yanagi now joining us. What are the allegations that you're making at this point?
It is purely a corrupt practice under the Representation of People's Act in as much as the presidential election rules. And any kind of inducement, any kind of, offering anything else, either it's in the form of a food or a liquor or an accommodation, or be it of any kind, it is called as a luring. And it is purely a corrupt practice. It is against the principles of fair elections. Free and fair elections have to be completely free from any of the allurement. And here it is clearly a case where the individual MLAs, though they have been the party members or otherwise also, they have not been allowed to cast their vote freely. This is amounting to a corrupt practice, and this election itself is not valid to this extent.
No, so two things that I want to understand. One, the justification that came before what the BJP is calling this training is that they wanted all their MLAs to know how the voting process looks, and they also wanted to ensure that the entire flock is together and they go and vote in favor of the NDA's presidential candidate. What is wrong in that?
Training is different. So taking them to a private resort, making them to stay together and offering them every kind of facilities is entirely different. It is not kind of a training at all. If it is a training, why it was only before the previous day of the election? And more so, they have been taken to the place of voting in a particular bus. In the sense, they were confined, they were wrongfully restrained.
No, but I'm trying to understand if they just want their flock to stay together to ensure that all the MLAs vote for their candidate, what is wrong in that? Because the reason I'm asking is because look what happened yesterday when these this entire presidential election took place. Your party actually had to face cross-voting as well. So what is wrong in what the BJP did? Just trying to keep its flock together.
It is not a cross-voting or otherwise here. Whether they vote for a particular candidate or they do not vote for a particular candidate, that's also entirely different. But the question now is whether they were freely allowed to vote or cast their vote.
Okay, let me take that question to BJP's S. Prakash. The criticism and the allegation from the Congress is that this was a corrupt practice. The MLAs were not allowed to vote freely. How do you respond?
No, it is very immature and childish criticism by the Congress party. They are all adult MLAs who came to the Vidhan Sabha together with all other MLAs and voted for Draupadi Murmu. In fact, he should understand 5 Goa MLAs were shifted to Chennai, 5-star hotel, by the Congress party, fearing some poking as they alleged. What about that? They should look to their behind first before making irresponsible criticism against the BJP MLA. Nobody can be kept, wrongful confinement can be done,
nobody can be forced to vote for a particular candidate. Every BJP member was enthusiastic to vote to Draupadi Murmu. The problem with the Congress party is whenever they lose their case, they try to dig out something to make allegations against the Bharatiya Janata Party.
No, see, there is nothing about winning or losing because the numbers were always in the favor of the NDA and India will get its first tribal president. Essentially, the allegation coming in is that this was seen as a form of bribery when you take them to a hotel and there is food, alcohol, etc. involved.
Who told him that they have been served alcohol by the party? Who told them? They were there to take the training for the voting, how to vote properly without making invalid vote. What is the problem with that? Most of the elections, even Congress party has done it. Okay. Now they could not do it. They have many cross voting must have happened in their party block. That is why they are raising all these insignificant issues.
Okay, insignificant issue is what the BJP is saying. Corrupt practice is what the Congress is saying. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave that conversation there. I'd like to thank the party spokespersons and my colleague Harish as well. We'll keep tracking all these developments and much more. For now, it's a wrap from my side. We're slipping into a very short break. Thanks a lot for watching.
The CBI has registered a case against former IOA President Narendra Batra in an alleged corruption case. The agency also conducted searches at his premises in 5 locations in Delhi and Jammu. Earlier this year, the CBI received a complaint alleging that 35 lakhs of Hockey India money was used for Batra's personal benefits. A damning report and new footage indicates police inaction during the mass shooting that took place at a school in Texas in Uvalde back in May.
An overall lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making. That's how a new investigation report describes the law enforcement response in the Uvalde school shooting. The report repeatedly notes a lack of clear command during the shooting. It lists 376 members of law enforcement on the scene, including many from federal agencies.
There is multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions.
But investigators didn't find any responders acted maliciously. In fact, these officers helped children and teachers escape.
I got another kid. What are we doing here?
The report gives families more answers, but little comfort.
Meanwhile, in New York, there were long queues of people waiting to get the monkeypox vaccine. With nearly 500 cases, the city has become the epicenter of the outbreak of the disease in the US. But only 9,200 slots became available on a dedicated website this weekend. Within 7 minutes, all slots were full. The race for the next UK PM is heating up. The Conservative Party leadership contest is now headed to its final stage, and former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak looks certain to be one of the top 2 candidates to replace Boris Johnson. UK's former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch is the wild card in this tightly contested race. So where do things stand right now for Rishi Sunak? Round 1 of voting, it happened on the 13th of July. He secured 88 votes, which was the highest of all the candidates. He was ranked number 1. Round 2 happened on the 14th of July. He secured 101 votes in that as well. Again, he led the pack of Conservative hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands. There are still more rounds to go. On the 19th of July, which is tomorrow, there will be round 4, and on the 20th, there will be round 5. And finally, the final round that happens later this week on the 21st of July, it will whittle down the field to just the final 2 contenders. And the final decision will be revealed on the 5th of September. Russian forces struck Pokrovsk, a city in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The city was hit twice with Iskander-M ballistic missiles, leaving at least 1 person dead and 14 injured. According to officials on ground, 30 buildings in the city were damaged as a result of the strike. The United States has decided not to impose any sanctions against India for purchasing the S-400 missile systems, the defense systems from Russia. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a legislative amendment which waives off any punitive sanctions on India under CAATSA. The U.S. is supporting India amid China's growing belligerence. India has also signed a $5 billion deal with Russia for 5 units of the S-400 air defense systems. Then President of the United States, Donald Trump, had warned of sanctions in retaliation to this purchase. Sri Lanka's acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe has declared a state of emergency as citizens struggle to get their hands on basic necessities.
I'm in Colombo at one of the few gas stations that's actually pumping petrol right now. We had to drive around past at least 2 or 3 before we found this one, and we could spot the fact that it was open because the line was stretching not even around the block, but like several blocks down.
In Sri Lanka these days, they say petrol is more precious than gold, which explains the heavily armed guards.
I've never seen anything quite like this. We've been talking to people waiting in these lines, some of them waiting as long as 6 days.
Long queues at fuel stations in Sri Lanka is the new normal.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with CNN News 18. I'm Anusha Sonia. Top focus this hour is some latest information which is coming in from the tragic incident that happened in Haryana's New area. Now, this is the story that we're talking about, in which a cop, DSP Surinder Singh, was killed during a raid in the district. Now, he was run over by a truck. His death is something which has sent shockwaves across the entire state and the entire country. The killing was apparently ordered by the illegal mining sand mafia. And Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij has said that strict action will be taken against those who are responsible for this crime. Nobody will be spared. That's the word coming in from the administration. He was set to retire in just 3 months from now, and his last rites now will take place near Hisar district in the coming week. Haryana Chief Minister ML Khattar has expressed grief over the brutal murder of DSP Surinder Singh, vowing strict action against the culprits. That's the word coming in. Chief Minister has also made a statement after the word that came from the State Home Minister. Multiple ministers and cabinet have been making statements about it. My colleague Anshul Singh, who's en route new to get us more details from the ground, is joining us on the broadcast. Anshul, give us the kind of statements that have come out. Manohar Lal Khattar has put out a statement on social media.
So yes, that said, Manohar Lal Khattar has finally come out and put out this tweet where he has said that the investigation will take place in the right direction and the culprits would be nabbed at the earliest. Also, what we are picking up that for the next of kin of DSP Surinder Singh. Also, what we have been told that the DGP of Haryana has been told to come himself here at the spot in Nu where the incident happened. We have been told that a DGP will be reaching there in the next few minutes. He will allotting the case to the other senior officials so that there are no discrepancies in the investigation. The basic message that they want to give out is that the Haryana government is absolutely true and is trying to make sure that the culprits are nabbed at the earliest, because we have seen that since this incident has happened, the Haryana government is definitely on. Where we have seen people from the Congress party as well as the Aam Aadmi party have already come out and tweeted and made statements against the government. So yes, the government is under a lot of pressure, and it is now up to them to make sure that these people who actually went ahead with this incident should be nabbed at the earliest.
And rightly so, Anshul. Strict action should be taken. Please stay with us on the broadcast. There's some more breaking news which is coming in. We also want to cut across to some live elements which are coming in. My News 18 colleague is on ground zero. Let's listen in. As I told you earlier that the government is taking swift action. The Haryana Chief Minister has announced 1 crore compensation for the family of the slain DSP Surinder Singh. One member of the family will also be given a job in the state government. Some reactions coming in on the story. My colleague Anshul is also reporting from the ground about this. Let's listen into the reactions that have come in so far. My colleague Anshul, tracking all the details from the ground. Anshul, I'm coming back to you. You spoke to multiple ministers and, we've been getting reactions from the opposition, the Home Minister and the Chief Minister. Compensation to the family, awarding or giving a job to one of the family members. What are the other key steps that the state government is taking?
So yes, this is a basic SOP that generally is followed by the government when something incident like this, when an untoward incident like this happens. So yes, Manohar Lal Khattar has just a few minutes ago announced that a compensation of rupees 1 crore will be given to the next of kin of DSP Surinder Singh. Also, a government job will be given. What rank of that job will be, that is still not very clear. Also, Manohar Lal Khattar has come out and said that he will be treated as a martyr. The status of martyr will also be given to him, because remember, it was just 3 months left in his retirement, and this morning itself we spoke to his brother as well of the record, and his brother has said that this morning itself he spoke to him and had asked him to come to his home in Hisar, and DSP Surinder Singh had said that it's just 3 months left, after which I'll come and stay with you. So yes, the family is in absolute shock as of now. They are demanding that the stricter action should be taken against the culprits as of now, because remember, the area in which this has happened, the location on which this incident happened, that area is infamous for land mining, and the land mafia has a huge control over the entire area. And this is not something new that has happened, or the police raids that have happened. Surinder Singh trying to go ahead and trying to stop that vehicle. This is not something new or out of the blue that suddenly happened, but this area is infamous for land mining. There have been various reports that we have been getting from past many years. Also, the locals have been complaining about illegal land mining happening in that area. At that point in time, the government did not get very active to try to stop this mafia and try to get this mafia in their control now. But now, since such a big incident has happened, that the DCP has been run over by a dumper, and the dumper was carrying illegal rocks that were mined from there. So the government is under a lot of pressure right now, and they're trying to make sure that the right message is being given out by them, the right tones are being sung by them. But the opposition is not letting this go anywhere soon. Randeep Surjewala himself had come out and had made allegations against the BJP government, Manohar Lal Khattar government, that they were inadequate in providing security and making sure that such thing does not happen in that area, which is already very infamous for land mining. And
Anshul, I'll keep coming back to you as you're getting us all the latest developments from the ground. These are shots of the family members. We're just going to play them out on the screen. As you can see on the screen right now, those are the bereaved family members who are clearly in shock. The officer was set to retire in 3 months, and then this brutal killing happens in broad daylight. Clearly, this is a chilling message that the sand mining mafia or the mining mafia in the state is trying to send to the law and order administration and the machinery. The state government says they will respond to this message coming in from the criminals. Adequate compensation, a job for one of the family members, all these SOPs have been followed, that has been announced. A statement from the Chief Minister and the Home Minister has also been made. As we get you these latest visuals, there's also a reaction coming in from Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij. Let's listen in.
नहीं बिल्कुल अपराधी पूरी तरह से यहाँ पर निरुत्साहित हैं। कोई ऐसी वो गतिविधियाँ सामने नहीं आ रही हैं और पूरी तरह से हमने उनके ऊपर रखी हुई है। अभी जो मूसेवाला गैंग के साथ जो आदमी थे वो हमारी एसटीएफ ने पकड़े हैं, हमने पकड़े हैं। वो हमारी पुलिस सक्रिय है पूरी तरह से।
पुलिस पे वार करने की घटना हमने उत्तर प्रदेश में देखी थी। एक बड़ा एग्जाम्पल सेट किया था वहाँ पर उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार की तरफ से। यहाँ किस तरीके की तैयारी है? नहीं, पूरी तरह से मैंने आदेश दिए हैं कि पूरी सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
जो मूलचंद शर्मा जी है वो कह रहे हैं कि यहाँ पर माइनिंग नहीं हो रही थी, पत्थरों की चोरी हो रही थी, लेकिन अगर कहीं चोरी भी होती है तो क्या उसे रोकना कानून व्यवस्था का काम नहीं है?
नहीं, अब इसमें हमारी पुलिस जो ये हमारे डीएसपी की जान गई है, ये रोकते हुए ही गई है, रोक रहे थे इसीलिए गई है।
अकेले थे उस समय? अकेले थे?
नहीं, साथ उनके पूरी टीम थी, पूरी टीम थी। नहीं, रेड करने गए थे।
क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन थी?
रेड करने गए थे और सारी हमारी वहाँ पे पुलिस है और अब सारी पुलिस वहाँ पे पहुँच रही है और पूरा चारों तरफ से हम किसी को बख्शेंगे। डीजीपी साहब वहाँ से नज़दीक ही हैं, वो पूरी स्थिति पर नज़र रखे हुए हैं। नहीं, वो सारी स्थिति की हम जानकारी ले रहे हैं और जल्दी जानकारी
लगता नहीं कि अब यूपी की तरह यहाँ भी थोड़ी सख्ती करने की जरूरत है हरियाणा में?
सर, में आपने बुलडोजर पहले भी की कार्रवाई करी और काफी वहाँ पे जो इसके बाद यहाँ मीडिया पे काफी लोग हैं आहत हैं इस बात को लेकर। वो कह रहे हैं कि अब हरियाणा में भी वक्त आ गया कि जैसे योगी का बुलडोजर चलता है अपराधियों पर, वैसे ही यहाँ पर भी नकेल कसी जाए, सख्ती और की।
नहीं, बिल्कुल हमने सख्ती कर रखी है और सख्ती करेंगे।
सुरेंद्र सिंह के परिवार को किस तरह से सरकार कंपनसेट करेगी, क्योंकि एक अभी
नहीं, परिवार को तो जो सरकार की पॉलिसी है उसके तहत ही, एक तो जिस बैंक से पुलिस विभाग से सैलरीज दी जाती हैं वो 50 लाख रुपया तो वो बैंक देता है और 50 लाख रुपया सरकार देगी, 1 करोड़ रुपया इसको मिलेगा।
लाभ मिलेगा जनता को। इस अवसर पर आपको मैं बहुत बहुत शुभकामना देता हूं। और अब अंत में आज जो एक बड़ी दुर्घटना हुई है, जैसा हमारे गृह मंत्री जी ने कहा, हमारे डीएसपी सुरेंद्र सिंह यहीं पास के नूर जिले में ड्यूटी पर थे और एक किसी खान माफिया के किसी व्यक्ति ने और उनके ऊपर गाड़ी चढ़ाई, उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है। बहुत दुखद ये घटना हुई है। हमारी सांत्वना है उनके परिवार के साथ भी, और हम वीर सैनिकों को हमेशा ऐसे मामलों में सबका मनोबल बढ़ाने के लिए भी अपने आप को भी प्रस्तुत करना चाहिए और उस परिवार की भी जिसकी क्षति हुई है उसके साथ भी खड़े हैं। डीजीपी साहब से मैंने बात की है, तो हमारी जो अलग अलग योजनाएं हैं उन योजनाओं में एक योजना तो पुलिस की अपनी योजना है जिसके अंतर्गत हम सरकार की ओर से उसको कुछ मॉनिटरी कुछ योगदान करते हैं उनके परिवार के लिए। एक योगदान हमारे HDFC बैंक ने दिया हुआ है कि अगर सैलरी का अकाउंट उनके बैंक के अकाउंट में होगा तो उनको मिलेगा। एक बेनिफिट उनको शहीद का दर्जा अगर मिलता तो वो मिलेगा, और कुछ पुलिस की ओर से अपने जो वेलफेयर फंड भी जो है उसमें से भी योगदान किया जाता है। तो मैंने सब हिसाब लगा के जब जानकारी ली है तो हम शहीद सुरेंद्र सिंह के परिवार को 1 करोड़ रुपए की राशि सब उसको सहायता के लिए देंगे और उसके परिवार से एक किसी व्यक्ति को जो नौकरी है वो भी जरूर देंगे। इस अवसर पर उनको श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करने के लिए मैं आपसे निवेदन करता हूँ कि सारे कार्यक्रम के अंत में हम 2 मिनट का मौन जरूर रखेंगे।
Well, that was the statement coming in from Manohar Lal Khattar. We also had a statement coming in from the Home Minister of the state saying stern action will be taken. Those are the visuals on the right-hand side of your screen of the bereaved family members who are suffering this tragic loss. Let's tell you about how it transpired. How this bone-chilling incident actually happened in broad daylight. An officer who was supposed to retire in just 3 months from now. Well, the officer went to inspect an area. The information he had was that there is illegal mining which is happening in a certain area. He went there for an inspection. A truck was hovering in the vicinity. The truck was asked to stop. It was asked questions. The officer asked, the truck driver to show the papers, the license, a routine check which is often done by the police agencies, keeping in mind the intelligence information that you have. Now, after this, the driver panicked. He ran over the officer and also his gunman was present at the spot. His driver was present on the spot. The officer concerned in question died on spot. This is how it all transpired. This clearly shows that how illegal sand mining mafia is running amok as far as this region is concerned or the state of Haryana is concerned. My colleague Anshul is also with us on the broadcast. But before that, I want to also ask all our viewers to join us on the show. If you have a thought, if you are affected by this brutal killing, if it disturbs you as a citizen, keeping in mind that if this is the fate of an officer, how can ordinary citizens be safe in this state? What do you think about this incident? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Share with us on the show. The number is on your screen. My colleague Anshul is tracking all the details from the ground. Anshul, you had earlier also put out the details of the preliminary investigation. The arrests that have not been made so far, the process of identification which is still underway. Take us through what the preliminary investigation really tells us.
So yes, in the initial stages of investigation, it has been found out that this truck was hovering in that area very suspiciously when the DSP actually went ahead and stopped that truck and asked for the required papers that were required, like the license and the registration paper of that truck. But the driver panicked at that point in time, and his truck was filled with stones, is what we are being told, that those stones were mined from that area. And seeing that, the DSP actually, Surendra Singh actually went ahead and stopped that truck. He tried to get his hands on the driver and tried to get the papers of the truck as well. But the driver panicked at that point in time, and he went ahead and accelerated a truck, which resulted in the killing of the DSP. However, the gunner that the DSP had and the driver that the DSP had actually tried to chase him down, but lost track of him since the DSP was lying on the road. They could not go very far. They had to cut down that chase and they had to come back to the DSP. When they reached on the spot, they had told the police that the DSP was almost dead at that point in time. And this has actually raised a lot of questions against the Haryana government. Now, what we are also picking up that the DGP of the Haryana police is also reaching on the spot in the next few minutes. He will be reaching on the spot where he'll be talking to the senior police officials of the town, and he will be allocating them the roles that are required to investigate this case from all scenarios. So now, remember, this case will not only be investigated from the scenario of killing DSP Suninder Singh, but who was the land mafia who was actually involved in that whole case, whose truck the truck belonged to whom, that will also be investigated. Because remember, the number of the truck has been noted by the police, but the police is saying that this number could be fake as well. Because remember, this was not an ordinary truck, but this was a truck of land mafia. So expecting anything legal from that coming out from that truck or from the driver is absolutely a gimmick or a joke right now. So yes, the police has a lot on his hand right now just to make sure that these culprits are nabbed at the earliest, because there is definitely a lot of pressure that is built on the Haryana government as well as the local administration over here.
All right, Anshul, stay with us on the broadcast. Jaikumar from Mumbai is our first caller. Jaikumar ji, thank you so much for speaking to us. What are your thoughts on this incident?
And this is a very unfortunate incident, and actually the government should take immediate action to find out the persons behind that, not the drivers and all that, because this is going to be a very bad, shocking incident for the moral of the police. Who will police the country then if these are the incidents happening? The mafia can get away with anything. Very bad.
Clearly,
Sad
thank
for
you.
The family.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Anshul continues to be with us on the show. Anshul, statements and counter statements have come in from both the sides. The Congress party and its top leaders have taken in a position that the law and order is in a bad shape and the BJP government is not taking adequate action. On the other side, the Chief Minister and the Home Minister have come out and said, we are doing our best. Take us through the sort of political narrative we have seen coming out on this entire incident.
So yes, as soon as the event came to light, the first person to react on this was Ranjit Surjewala, where he raised questions on the capability of Manohar Lal Khattar to handle the law and order situation in Haryana. And just a few minutes ago, Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal has also put out a tweet. Now remember, Kejriwal is also trying to get into the politics of Haryana, and he thinks that he could be he could have a big role to play in the upcoming Haryana election, since Congress is on the downfall over there. So yes, CM Kejriwal had put out a tweet just a few minutes ago, and he has said that this is a very, very sad incident that has happened, and he has said that he stands with the family members of the slain police officer. And as well, he has also raised questions on the Haryana government yet again, where he has said that the Aam Aadmi Party and the workers of the Aam Aadmi Party had already been raising questions on the land mafia that has been so vigilant in Haryana over the past few weeks. Now remember, the same allegations were raised against Arvind Kejriwal and his government in Punjab, where the land mafia was so very active, and especially during the elections as well. It was one of the biggest talking points in the assembly elections in Punjab as well. Now, since the land mafia has gone so very active in Haryana, so yes, questions are being raised on the Haryana government as to were the administrators and were the local police hand in glove with such mafia, because this is not something that has happened over the last 1 or 2 years, but the land mafia has been active in this area of Nup for past many years now. So yes, the Haryana government seems to be in a dock right now, and it is up to them as to how quickly could they investigate the case and not only arrest the driver, but also the mafia who are actually involved.
Yes,
in this
at
whole
whose
case.
behest was the driver or the truck really operating, and how did this entire incident take place? Stay with us, Anshul. I'll keep coming back to you. Krishna from Delhi is another caller. Krishna, thank you so much for calling us. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, hi ma'am. This is completely disturbing, and after hearing this news, it's very bad. I mean, they have also family, right? I mean, how it affect their family. So why can't the state government take best practices from other states and or take the help of central force to eliminate these kind of mafia? It's high time they should use the bulldozer.
All right. A lot of those thoughts have been coming from various quarters, keeping in mind that this is an incident which has sent shockwaves across the entire state. And once again, in the focus right now is the sand mining mafia, which has been a headache for respective administrations in the state. Some political reactions that we are playing out.
किस तरह से देखते हैं आप, क्या हो रहा है हरियाणा के अंदर?
देखिए, हम पीछे जब हमारे विधायकों को टेलीफोन आए, धमकियां मिली, उसमें सारी मतलब बीजेपी के भी विधायक था और कांग्रेस के भी थे। उसे हम राज्यपाल जी को मिले थे। सवाल इस बात का नहीं है कि विधायकों को धमकी मिली, आम आदमी अपने आप को असुरक्षित महसूस कर रहा है। और जब आज ना विधायक ना पुलिस अपने आप में सुरक्षित हैं तो आम आदमी कैसे सुरक्षित रहेगा। तो ये बड़ा ऐसा विषय है, कानून व्यवस्था बिल्कुल चरमरा गई है। ऐसा प्रतीत होता है हरियाणा में सरकार ही नहीं है कोई, जहाँ कानून है चुस्त दुरुस्त जब तक नहीं होगी उसका बड़ा भारी गहरा प्रभाव प्रदेश के विकास पे भी पड़ता है।
आप कैसे इस घटना को देखते हैं? आपकी सरकार है वहाँ पर?
नहीं, देखिए बहुत बड़ी घटना है और ये घटना ऐसी नहीं है कि जिसे किसी भी प्रकार से हल्के में कोई ले सके। एक सीधी चुनौती है पूरी पुलिस व्यवस्था को, पूरे प्रशासन को, पूरी सरकार को। और मैं सरकार से अनुरोध करूंगा और मुझे विश्वास है कि सरकार इस पर कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई जल्द से जल्द करेगी और कार्रवाई भी ऐसी हो जिससे एक संदेश पूरे प्रदेश में जाए और ख़ास तौर पर ये जो भू माफिया है या माइनिंग माफिया है इनको ये संदेश जाना।
Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Deepak Bish from News18 India. He is tracking all the developments on the ground. Deepak, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे इस समय पुलिस की कार्यवाही प्राइमा फेसी क्या-क्या तथ्य हैं जो सामने आए हैं? ग्राउंड से आप क्या खबर है जो हमें बता सकते हैं?
देखिए, मैं जानकारी देना चाहूंगा क्योंकि अभी तक फिलहाल 4 घंटे बीत चुके हैं, डीएसपी के कातिलों तक पुलिस नहीं पहुंची है। ये साफ तौर पर ये अब का अपडेट है और जिस तरह से जो अवैध खनन चल रहा था वो इन पहाड़ियों पर चल रहा था। मैं दिखाना चाहूंगा ये तस्वीरें। ये अवैध पहाड़ियां हैं, यहाँ पर अवैध रूप से खनन इसलिए होता था क्योंकि यहाँ पर कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी की क्षय होती होगी, किसी न किसी का सपोर्ट मिलता होगा और यही वजह थी कि इतने बड़े स्तर पर यहाँ पर खनन कार्य जो है अवैध रूप से यहाँ पर खनन माफिया कर रहे थे। और यही जानकारी आज डीएसपी को मिली थी, जिसके बाद 12:15 बजे दिन के वो यहाँ पर पहुंचे थे और उन्होंने जो गाड़ी यहाँ पर से जो कंक्रीट जो पत्थर भरा जाता है डंपर में उसको यहाँ पर भरा और उसके बाद जैसे ही यहाँ से खनन माफिया वापस निकलने लगे तो डीएसपी को इनपुट मिला था। उसके बाद वो यहाँ पर पहुंचे और उन्होंने इसी जगह पर अपनी गाड़ी यहाँ पर लगाई और सरकारी गाड़ी पर वो जब आए थे तो उन्होंने यहाँ पर गाड़ी लगाकर सिर्फ यही रोकने की कोशिश की, लेकिन जो हमलावर थे उनका अंदेशा डीएसपी को भी नहीं पता था कि वो उनके ऊपर डंपर को चढ़ा देंगे। और यहाँ पर देखा गया ये जो रूट है, इस पूरे रूट को मैं आपको दिखाना चाहूंगा। ये रूट, इसी रूट पर उन्होंने जो डंपर था वो वहां से आ रहा था, डंपर इस ऊंचाई से आ रहा था क्योंकि भरा हुआ डंपर था, ऊंचाई से आ रहा था और उसके बाद यहाँ पर डीएसपी ने अपनी गाड़ी को लगाया था ताकि सरकारी गाड़ी को देखकर जो हमलावर हैं वो रुक जाए, लेकिन ऐसा ना हो सका। आप ये देखिए, ये पत्थरों को देख सकते हैं, ये डंपर में इस तरह के पत्थरों को रखा गया था, भरा हुआ था और उसके बाद इस जगह पर, ठीक इसी जगह पर वो स्पॉट है, ये ब्लड के यहाँ पर निशान देख रहे हैं आप, इसी जगह पर उन्हें हिट किया गया था और यहाँ पर हिट करने के बाद डंपर चालक ने डंपर पीछे किया और उसके बाद यहाँ से 9-2-11 हो गया, यानी फरार हो गया। ये पूरा जो मलबा है इस डंपर के अंदर जो रखा हुआ था ये आप देख सकते हैं, उसने डंपर को खाली किया, मतलब वारदात को अंजाम देने के बाद डंपर जो भरा हुआ था उस डंपर को उसने खाली किया और ये सारे पत्थर आप तस्वीरों में देख सकते हैं और उसके बाद यहाँ से वो फरार हो गया। दूर वो कहाँ गया इसके बारे में किसी को जानकारी नहीं है। डीएसपी के साथ जो पुलिसकर्मी थे वो कहाँ गए ये देखना जरूरी है क्योंकि उनकी संख्या नहीं पता चल पा रही है, क्योंकि उनके साथ कम से कम एक चालक और एक कांस्टेबल तो होना चाहिए। अगर वो यहाँ पर रेड पाए हैं तो पुलिस पार्टी होनी चाहिए, लेकिन अभी तक कोई जवाब देने वाला नहीं है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ा सवाल यही है कि आखिर डीएसपी के ऊपर हमला करने वाले कौन थे? क्या चालक अकेला आया था? डंपर चालक के साथ क्या उसका मालिक भी था? ये डंपर किसका है? कौन उस डंपर के अंदर कुछ लोग और बैठे होंगे? क्या साजिशन ये सारी जो वारदात है उसको अंजाम दिया गया? ये सब पता लगाया जाना बहुत जरूरी है। हालांकि सूत्रों के मुताबिक हमें ये जानकारी मिली कि जितने डंपर इस इलाके में चल रहे हैं उनको यहाँ पर उनका रिकॉर्ड खंगाला जा रहा है, कितने डंपर चालक हैं, कितने ट्रक वगैरह चलाते हैं, इतने ड्राइवरों की सूची यहाँ पर बनाई गई है और ये सब इसलिए कवायद की जा रही है ताकि उसको पकड़ा जा सके कि कौन हमलावर थे, किन लोगों ने पकड़ा था, ताकि एक लीड अगर पुलिस को मिलती है तो उस पर काम किया जा सके।
एक चीज और आपसे जानना चाहूंगी दीपक, पूरे दिन में आज हमने देखा राजनीतिक आरोप और प्रत्यारोप का एक पूरा दौर चला। रूलिंग पार्टी का कुछ कहना है, विरोधी दलों का कुछ कहना है। सैंड माइनिंग एक बहुत पुरानी समस्या रही है हरियाणा में, बहुत सारी सरकारें आई और गई, लेकिन सैंड माइनिंग की प्रॉब्लम को आज तक सॉल्व नहीं किया जा सका। स्थानीय लोगों का इस तरह की घटनाओं में एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल होता है, वो बता सकते हैं कि क्यों हुआ, वहां पर इलीगल माइनिंग हो रही थी या नहीं हो रही थी, क्योंकि वारदात के बाद भी स्थानीय लोग ही वो लोग होते हैं जो सबसे पहले पहुंचते हैं। वहां के लोकल गांव वालों से, स्थानीय लोगों से क्या आपको कोई भी जानकारी प्राप्त हुई है?
देखिए, स्थानीय लोगों से हमने जब बात की तो उन्होंने कैमरे पर आने से इनकार कर दिया। उन्होंने बहाना बनाया कि वो वारदात के वक्त नहीं थे, क्योंकि साफ तौर पर ये एक तो डीएसपी का यहाँ पर कत्ल हुआ है, उसके बाद दूसरा जो खनन माफिया है उनसे झगड़ा मोल नहीं लेना चाहते जो स्थानीय लोग हैं। वो यहाँ पर जितने भी लोग हैं इन लोगों से हमने पूछताछ की थी, कोशिश की थी कुछ बता सके लोग कि कब घटनाक्रम था, कैसे यहाँ पर खनन माफिया अवैध रूप से यहाँ पर खनन के लिए यहाँ पर पहुंच जाते, तो कोई भी जवाब देने के लिए यहाँ पर तैयार नहीं था। इतना बड़ा खौफ यहाँ पर खनन माफियाओं को देखा जा सकता है। उन खनन माफियाओं को खौफ तो जाहिर सी बात है, जिन लोगों ने सरेराम एक डीएसपी के ऊपर डंपर चढ़ा दिया तो उनका खौफ यहाँ पर देखा जा सकता है। और यही वजह थी कि गांव वाले भी यहाँ पर कुछ भी बोलने के लिए तैयार नहीं है। लेकिन अवैध रूप से जो खनन यहाँ पर होता रहा है उसकी लगातार शिकायत है, वो हमेशा करते रहे हैं, लेकिन कभी भी कानूनी रूप से कहे तो कार्रवाई नहीं हो पाई। और जिसका जीता जागता सबूत यहाँ पर यह था कि डीएसपी पर हमला करना, उनकी जान ले लेना यहाँ पर सबसे बड़ा खनन माफियाओं की दबंगई है। और इसी वजह से अब पुलिस महकमे के लिए एक बड़ी चुनौती है उन कातिलों तक पहुंचना जिन्होंने डंपर को डीएसपी की गाड़ी के ऊपर चढ़ाया था और डीएसपी की इसमें मौत हुई थी। अब फिलहाल पुलिस का कहना है कि आधा दर्जन से ज्यादा उन्होंने टीम बनाई है जो इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रही है, कई जगह पर रेड्स की जा रही हैं, लेकिन 4 घंटे बीत जाने के बाद भी अभी भी हमलावर फरार हैं। न ट्रक का नंबर जो डंपर चालक को न डंपर का नंबर अभी तक पुलिस के पास है, न डंपर चालक की जानकारी पुलिस के पास है। तो कहीं ना कहीं बड़े लूप होल्स यहाँ पर नजर आ रहे हैं कि पुलिस का जो कम्युनिकेशन है कहीं ना कहीं मिस कर रहा है। तो कुल मिलाकर अब देखना यही होगा कि कब तक इस पूरे मामले की जो प्रकरण है इसकी जांच चल रही है और कब तक आरोपी तक पुलिस पहुंच पाती है।
Deepak Bisht getting us all the details from the ground. We are also getting a reaction from the ADGP Law and Order of the state. Let's listen in.
मेरे पास पुलिस वाले जो अपने डीएसपी साहब की पर्सनल टीम थी उनके साथ, जो उनका पर्सनल स्टाफ था वो उनके साथ था, सरकारी गाड़ी में थे। सीक्वेंस ऑफ इवेंट्स देखिए पूरा वर्कआउट करके, बिकॉज ये लगभग जो मुझे इतला मिली थी लगभग करीब 12 बजे करीब की है, तो उससे थोड़ा आगे पीछे हो सकता है। हमारे पास जो अभी पुलिस के वहाँ पे जो मेरी जानकारी में है वहाँ पे 4 हमारे मुलाजिम थे, जिसमें डीएसपी साहब का पर्सनल स्टाफ था। और एग्जैक्ट जो हमारे जो सस्पेक्ट्स की लिस्ट है, बिकॉज हमारी टीम्स काफ़ी फील्ड में है और वी आर वेरी होपफुल कि हमें सक्सेस जल्दी मिल जानी चाहिए। वी आर वेरी अभी ये पर्टिकुलर्स में।
Now, politics over DSP's brutal murder that continues to go on. Aam Aadmi Party convener and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has slammed the BJP government, blaming the murder on the failure of the law and order system in the state. My colleague Anshul is with us on the broadcast. Anshul, so Arvind Kejriwal joins the chorus coming in from other opposition parties.
Yes, Arvind Kejriwal has now joined the chorus of the parties that have been coming up over the last few hours that we have seen. So, as we have been reporting that Arvind Kejriwal had put out this tweet that he has taken pot shots at the BJP government in Haryana, where he has said that the BJP government in Haryana is absolutely incapable of handling the law and order situation over there. So yes, not only the Aam Aadmi Party but also the Congress Party has come to the fore, criticizing the kind of law and order situation. And in fact, the few leaders of the Congress Party have also gone ahead and said that the government and so few officials could be hand in glove with this land mafia who have been doing this illegal mining for many years. So action should be taken against them as well. So yes, the political blame game has already started, but the loss that the state has incurred, the loss that the family members of DSP Surinder Singh who have occurred is absolutely irreparable, Anisha.
Absolutely, it is an irreparable loss. Cutting across once again to Deepak Bisht, my colleague from News18 India, who's on ground zero in New. Deepak, आपने बताया कि स्थानीय लोग भी ज़्यादा कुछ बोल नहीं रहे हैं, सबका ये कहना है कि वो वारदात के समय वहाँ मौजूद नहीं थे। क्या ये कहना सही होगा कि ये जो गैर कानूनी एक्टिविटीज़ वहाँ पर चल रही हैं उसकी वजह से कहीं ना कहीं एक डर का माहौल है उस पूरे क्षेत्र में, इस पूरे इलाके में, और एक इतने बड़े अधिकारी की हत्या कर दी गई है दिन दहाड़े, कहीं ना कहीं लोकल लोगों में भी वो भय देखा जा सकता है?
हरियाणा के नूह जिले में जिस वक्त डीएसपी सुरेंद्र सिंह को डंपर से कुचला गया, उस वक्त डंपर इस जगह से आ रहा था। हमें जो जानकारी मिली है डंपर इस पहाड़ी से आ रहा था, भरते हुए डंपर के अंदर ये सारे जो पत्थर हैं आपको दिखाई देंगे, ये पत्थर इस पूरे डंपर में भरे हुए थे और सामने सुरेंद्र सिंह की सरकारी गाड़ी लगी हुई थी और यहाँ पर उन्होंने सरकारी गाड़ी को रोकने के लिए ये रखा था ताकि डीएसपी ये कह सकें कि जो डंपर चालक है वो अपने डंपर को यहाँ पर रोक ले। और 20 सड़क पर सरकारी गाड़ी देखकर डंपर चालक ने अपने होश खो दिए या उसने पूरी साजिशन डंपर पर डंपर को जो है पूरी तरह से सरकारी गाड़ी के ऊपर टकरा दिया और जिसमें डीएसपी की मौत हो गई। और उसके बाद देखिए ये सारे जो पत्थर आपको फेंके हुए नजर आ रहे हैं, ये सारे पत्थर इसलिए फेंके गए हैं क्योंकि डंपर को खाली करना जरूरी था। वो भरा डंपर लेकर आया था, डंपर के अंदर ये सारे भारी भरकम पत्थर थे और इस एवज में वो भाग नहीं सकता था और उसने तुरंत ही इन सारे पत्थरों को, अपना जो ट्राला होता है उसको डाउन करके ये सारे पत्थर इसी जगह पर फेंक दिए। इससे ये साफ पता चलता है कि वो यहाँ से भागना चाहता था और भागते हुए यहाँ से उसने क्या उसे हिट किया था या फिर सीधे मारने के बाद वो दोबारा इसको खाली करने आया, क्योंकि जिस तरह से पत्थरों का ढेर दिख रहा है तो ये साफ पता चल रहा है कि उसने हिट करने से पहले पत्थर गिराए थे और उसके बाद यहाँ से हिट करते हुए आगे को चला गया था और यहीं से वो डंपर लेकर फरार हो गया। अब पुलिस इस पूरे मामले में इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रही है। कोशिश ये है पुलिस की कि इन्वेस्टिगेट को सुचारू रूप से जल्द किया जाए, क्योंकि कई टीमों को यहाँ पर लगाया गया है। जितने इलाके के डंपर हैं उनकी सूची मंगाई गई है, कितने डंपर चालक जो है वो डंपर चलाते हैं उनकी सूची मंगाई गई है। आधा दर्जन से ज़्यादा टीमें जो हैं इस अरावली की पहाड़ियों में काम्बिंग कर रही हैं। हालांकि पुलिस का कहना है कि जल्द से जल्द कुछ सुराग हासिल मिलेगा तो उसकी इन्फो जो है जरूर मीडिया तक पहुँचाई जाएगी। लेकिन 4 घंटे से ज़्यादा बीत चुका है और अभी भी पुलिस यहाँ पर हमलावरों तक नहीं पहुँच पाई है, ना ही हमलावरों को खोज पाई है। लेकिन हमलावरों का जिस तरह से ये रूट दिख रहा है कि अगर हमलावर वहाँ से आते हैं तो उन्होंने पुलिस की गाड़ी को देखने के बाद पहले ही मन बना लिया था कि उस गाड़ी को हिट किया जाए और यही वजह थी कि वहाँ से पत्थर गिराते हुए आए हैं और यहाँ पर आकर उन्होंने जब जिप्सी यहाँ पर जो उनकी गाड़ी खड़ी थी सरकारी, वहाँ पर आने तक पत्थर का पूरा आधे से ज़्यादा हिस्सा ट्रक से खाली हो गया था और उसके बाद हिट किया गया है गाड़ी को। उसके बाद वो आगे यहीं से फरार हो गए। अब पुलिस पूरे इस मामले में इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रही है कि आखिर पूरा सीक्वेंस क्या था, क्योंकि जब सीक्वेंस तब पता चलेगा जब आरोपी पुलिस के पास होंगे। तो फिलहाल पुलिस की टीमें जो है इस पूरे मामले में जांच कर रही है, लेकिन हमलावरों को पकड़ना बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि पुलिस का जो मनोबल है वो यहाँ पर कहीं ना कहीं इधर उधर हो रहा है। क्योंकि एक पुलिसकर्मी पर कभी भी कोई बदमाश या कोई अपराधी हमला करते हैं तो पुलिस के लिए एक बड़ी चुनौती हो जाती है उसको रोकना और उसको पकड़ना, और यहाँ पर अब पुलिस के लिए वही चुनौती है ताकि डीएसपी के कातिलों तक जल्द से जल्द पहुँचा जा सके।
Clearly, a chilling message has been sent to the administration, and the administration says they will respond in equal measure. Let's see how soon the arrest can be made in this case. My colleague Deepak Bisht and Anshul getting us all the details from the ground. We're slipping into a very short break. News and updates will continue here.
More than 900 people have been evacuated from flooded houses in Maharashtra's Chandrapur district. With monsoon at its peak, water level in dams in Amravati have reached a danger mark. More than 100 people have died due to rains and floods in Maharashtra so far this month.
After 70 years, India is set to be the home of cheetahs. African cheetahs will find a new home in the Madhya Pradesh National Park. In fact, it's being brought under the Intercontinental Translocation Project. An MOU will be signed with South Africa. For the program, preparations have been on for housing 12 to 15 cheetahs. From August, the fastest animal on earth was declared extinct in India in 1952. A Delhi court upheld the conviction of Sushil and Gopal Ansal for tampering with evidence in the connection with the 1997 Upar cinema fire, which claimed 59 lives. The court will hear fresh arguments for the quantum of sentence tomorrow. One co-accused in the case, Anup Singh, has been acquitted. The CBI has registered a case against former IOA President Narendra Batra in an alleged corruption case. The agency also conducted searches at his premises in 5 locations in Delhi and Jammu. Earlier this year, the CBI received a complaint alleging that 35 lakhs of Hockey India money was used for Batra's personal benefits. A damning report and new footage indicates police inaction during the mass shooting that took place at a school in Texas in Uvalde back in May.
An overall lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making. That's how a new investigation report describes the law enforcement response in the Uvalde school shooting. The report repeatedly notes a lack of clear command during the shooting. It lists 376 members of law enforcement on the scene, including many from federal agencies.
There is multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions.
But investigators didn't find any responders acted maliciously. In fact, these officers helped children and teachers escape.
I got another kid.
What are we doing here?
The report gives families more answers, but little comfort.
Meanwhile, in New York, there were long queues of people waiting to get the monkeypox vaccine. With nearly 500 cases, the city has become the epicenter of the outbreak of the disease in the US. But only 9,200 slots became available on a dedicated website this weekend. Within 7 minutes, all slots were full. The race for the next UK PM is heating up. The Conservative Party leadership contest is now headed to its final stage, and former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak looks certain to be one of the top two candidates to replace Boris Johnson. UK's former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch is the wild card in this tightly contested race. So where do things stand right now for Rishi Sunak? Round 1 of voting, it happened on the 13th of July. He secured 88 votes, which was the highest of all the candidates. He was ranked number 1. Round 2 happened on the 14th of July. He secured 101 votes in that as well. Again, he led the pack of Conservative hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands.
And some breaking news coming in, interesting developments coming in from the state of Karnataka, where DK Shivakumar has made an open pitch to be the Congress chief ministerial face for the first time. In a public event, the KPCC chief said, and I'm quoting, "I am not a sannyasi, not wearing a saffron robe," unquote. He has further asked Vocaligas to rally behind him if they want their community and a person from the community to become the chief minister. That's the word coming in. Let's first listen in to what DK Shivakumar said.
ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಹಂತದವರೆಗೂ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಿಎಂ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ? ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಹಿಂದೆ ರ್ಯಾಲಿ ಆಗಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾನು ಆಗೋದು ಬಿಡೋದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ನನ್ನ ಕೈಯನ್ನು ಬಲಪಡಿಸಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಹಳೆಯದೆಲ್ಲ ಇತಿಹಾಸ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಹಂತದವರೆಗೂ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಿಎಂ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ? ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಹಿಂದೆ ರ್ಯಾಲಿ ಆಗಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾನು ಆಗೋದು ಬಿಡೋದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್.
My colleague Harish Upadhyay is with us on the broadcast. Harish, give us more context to this statement.
Well, this is perhaps the first outburst of sorts that we are seeing from DK Shivakumar. And this is coming even as there is mounting pressure on Sitharaman to call off his birthday bash, but his camp is defined. And that's the reason now we have 3 significant statements being made by DK Shivakumar here. One, he's saying that when he's asked about the chief ministerial face, remember, that's one of the contentions between Sitharaman and DK Shivakumar. He says, well, I'm no sannyasi. Are you seeing me wearing a saffron robe? I am not, which means he's making his ambition clear, but he says the party will decide that. The second is, remember, the whole birthday bash of Sitharaman is also a program that will showcase Sitharaman's clout, especially in the Ahinda community. That's the acronym for backward classes, Dalits and minorities. Sitharaman wants to project himself as the leader of the masses, especially the Ahinda community. And on that front, you see DK Shivakumar saying that I've asked my community leaders, that's the Vocaligas, to vote for me and rally behind me. Only then someone from their community can become the chief minister of the state.
Yeah.
And the third point, when he's asked about the issue of Sitharaman's birthday bash, he says, well, I have my limitations and I don't want to be the spokesperson for anyone. Making his displeasure very clear, not approving the celebrations that's happening on August 3rd. At the same time, not going all out against Sitharaman, but making it very clear that he has chief ministerial ambitions. And he is also playing the caste card, saying that I have asked Vocaligas to back me. Remember, Vocaligas are one of the biggest castes in Karnataka. They constitute a significant chunk after the Lingayats. So it's all the 3 aspects. You have a standoff between Sitharaman and DK Shivakumar. And DK Shivakumar perhaps getting vocal for the first time in the last 3 weeks, ever since the whole birthday bash of Sitharaman has become a bone of contention within the Congress party.
Harish, stay with us on the broadcast. We have both political guests with us, S. Prakash of the BJP and Nasir Hussain of the Congress party are joining us on the show. Nasir Hussain, coming to you first. Is it an all-out battle within the Congress party? It is not a secret that Mr. Shivakumar has had chief ministerial ambitions.
I think in Congress party there is no harm in anybody being ambitious. Anybody can be ambitious to become something or to rise higher up in the ladder, in the hierarchy, in the political spaces which are there, both electorally and also in organization. And Congress party doesn't discourage that. But at the same time, Congress party has its own way of rewarding people, recognizing people, has its own way of choosing people for the higher levels.
No, Mr. Nasir Hussain, I do take your point. I do take your point, sir. I do take your point that a healthy competition within a political party is a good thing. I mean, that's good for democracy, internal democracy, which the Congress party claims it has. But that being said, this has led to serious factional wars within the Congress party in multiple states. The examples are Rajasthan, a much worse example is Madhya Pradesh. Are you sure this will not go out of hand?
See, Congress has had a long history, and still is a force to reckon with in the country. Every time there is a government, there are definitely 4 or 5 candidates for the post of chief minister. That is because in our party there are leadership grows over a period of 20, 30, 40 years. So whenever this kind of a situation comes, there are 3, 4 people, but that is settled while taking the views of the elected MLAs, party leaders, and the high command put together. They have consultations and then they decide the leadership. And we have this convention of fighting the election under the chief minister if we have a government here. And
well, Mr. Nasir Hussain, you haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question. But S. Prakash of the BJP is also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Prakash, I understand an internal matter for the Congress party, but as a political observer, as a political leader, do you see this going worse for the Congress party in the state?
Slowly, the situation in Karnataka Congress is going out of control between Sitharaman and D.K. Shivakumar, and also from the high command. Their rivalry is now out in the open. As the date is nearing for the Sitharaman's birthday bash, D.K. Shivakumar may be feeling insecure. So today he has announced, let all the Vakaliga community rally behind me. I am the CM. I have aspiration to become the chief minister. The caste factor coming to the fore. A party which always claim they are a secular party, now here they are playing caste politics. They are totally confused. First of all, they don't come to power. Oh, that's the part. The rivalry between Sitharaman and D.K. Shivakumar is very evident. Congress party should accept it.
Congress party should accept it. Mr. Nasir Hussain, will you accept this? I will reiterate my question to you. Are you sure this will not go out of hand and once again become an all-out factional war for the Congress party, which inevitably leads to the profit of, say, a party like BJP, which is your principal opponent?
No, I know. If there are if there is factionalism, if there is groupism, BJP is all out to gain and also exploit the situation. Not only trying to get into factionalism within the party, it also does with lots of other things by use of money, power, and also use of central agencies. So let us not get into that. But what is more important here is that we have leadership in Congress party. There are many faces who can be the chief ministerial candidate, but at the same time we have a very settled procedure and style of functioning where we say only after the election we consult the MLAs and then decide who the chief minister is. And here I think it is D.K. Shivakumar has, he has attended some program function where they have asked him whether somebody from the Vakaliga community will be there or not. So he said that if you, obviously people while campaigning he has said that if you really want a Vakaliga community to, someone from Vakaliga community to become the chief minister, then you will all have to rally behind our party, vote to the party, only then we can claim something for our community. So I think there's nothing wrong in it because pressure groups, interest groups, lobbies are part of politics. not only in India, across the world, even in the most vibrant democracies. India is also a very vibrant democracy.
Well, Mr. Hussain, all of
most
us
vibrant
have
democracies are
read
always
those
there.
political theories. But the reality, the political reality of the matter is that if the factionalism goes out of hand, it can work for the benefit of your principal opponents in the state and even in national politics, which has been the case for the Congress party. Tanveer Ahmed of the JDS is also joining us on the broadcast. Tanveer ji, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए. I'd like to know your reaction to the story, this factional war within the Congress party, or even if one were to take it just as an ambition of DK Shivkumar, do you see this going worse?
See, we all know that Congress really doesn't need JDS or BJP to finish. Sitharaman and Mr. DK Shivkumar are good enough to finish Congress. And their internal fighting is absolutely no stranger to everybody living in Karnataka. DK Shivkumar is dreaming that he wants to become the chief minister. Sitharaman is really throwing a lavish 75th birthday party. This is, I mean, the bigger fight. I think CNN, every channel definitely need to wait when they are going to distribute tickets. Because Sitharaman has already promised all 224 that he is going to get them tickets, and DK Shivkumar has promised. So I'm sure DK Shivkumar, as you rightly said, that he is not a sadhu. We knew that he is definitely not a sadhu.
Yeah.
Because he cannot be. For a person to be a sadhu, you need to have a different stature altogether. So, but DK Shivkumar and Sitharaman infighting is nothing new to political parties and Karnataka. This would continue for a longer time, ma'am.
All right, as you tell us all of that, Nasir Hussain of the Congress party continues to be with us on the show. Nasir ji, I'm coming back to you. Both of your principal opponent parties say that this is trouble brewing in for the Congress party. And one of the allegations which is also being put is that you often say that Congress is known for its secular brand of politics. But here is an appeal to a particular caste group.
See, Congress is a secular and is one of the most secular parties in our country, which has never compromised with communalism or casteism in our country. We don't buy caste and community, but at the same time, there are interest groups, pressure groups, there are lobbies in the in politics itself. Forget about Congress party. In all political parties, these lobbies are there. She was attending some program which was predominantly a Wakaliga kind of a program, where someone asked him while some other speaker was speaking, he asked him whether there will be a chief minister from Wakaliga community. He said that if you really want a chief minister, you all should be Congress.
I hope it was said
and that was his
I really hope it was said as casually as you're making it out to be, because the political ambitions or what DK Shivkumar wants to be in his political career is not a secret in political chatter and then in the political narrative. He has hinted out earlier as well. But Mr. Nasir Hussain, Mr. S. Prakash and Tanveer Ahmed, thank you gentlemen for joining us on the broadcast. We'll continue tracking the story and all the hustle bustle from the political quarters in the state of Karnataka, slipping into a very short break.
Hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands. There are still more rounds to go on the 19th of July, which is tomorrow. There will be round 4, and on the 20th, there will be round 5. And finally, the final round that happens later this week on the 21st of July, it will whittle down the field to just the final 2 contenders. And the final decision will be revealed on the 5th of September. Russian forces struck Pokrovsk, a city in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The city was hit twice with Iskander-M ballistic missiles, leaving at least 1 person dead and 14 injured. According to officials on ground, 30 buildings in the city were damaged as a result of the strike. The United States has decided not to impose any sanctions against India for purchasing the S-400 missile systems, the defense systems from Russia. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a legislative amendment which waives off any punitive sanctions on India under CAATSA. The U.S. is supporting India amid China's growing belligerence. India has also signed a $5 billion deal with Russia for 5 units of the S-400 air defense systems. Then, President of the United States, Donald Trump, had warned of sanctions in retaliation to this purchase. Sri Lanka's acting president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has declared a state of emergency as citizens struggle to get their hands on basic necessities.
I'm in Colombo at one of the few gas stations that's actually pumping petrol right now. We had to drive around past at least 2 or 3 before we found this one, and we could spot the fact that it was open because the line was stretching not even around the block, but like several blocks down.
In Sri Lanka these days, they say petrol is more precious than gold, which explains the heavily armed guards.
I've never seen anything quite like this. We've been talking to people waiting in these lines, some of them waiting as long as 6 days.
Long queues at fuel stations in Sri Lanka is the new normal.
How long have you been waiting here?
Since Monday, like 6 days.
6 days?
Yeah.
The situation is so dire that many people are ditching their cars and motorcycles for bicycles for their daily commute.
Star England all-rounder and 2019 World Cup final hero Ben Stokes made a surprise announcement that he's retiring from one-day cricket. The 31-year-old said that playing all 3 formats has become unsustainable for him. He will play his last one-dayer against South Africa at his home ground in Durham tomorrow. 20 years after they first began dating, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got married this weekend in Las Vegas. Lopez took to a website to confirm the news and also shared pictures from the intimate ceremony. The pair called off their first engagement in January of 2004 and then went on to marry and have children with other people. They rekindled their romance last year. Meanwhile, this seaside wedding in Hawaii was interrupted by a series of giant waves crashing into the ceremony. The now viral video shows the guests running in the opposite direction while a big wall-like wave crashes through the wedding reception. Welcome back to Brass Tacks. At least 13 people were killed after a bus plunged into the Narmada River in Dhar district in Madhya Pradesh.
The bus was heading towards
Welcome back, and let's go to some latest news which is coming in from the state of Kerala. Now, after the disturbing story of female students being told to remove their brassiere before entering the NEET examination hall that emerged in Kerala, an RSP MP, N.K. Premachandran, is likely to raise the issue during Parliament's monsoon session. Remember, information also came out about how after the exam, their innerwears were found in a pile. The incident took place at Mathorma Institute of Information Technology, but college authorities had claimed that security was being handled by a third party. My colleague Neetu with some voices and reactions.
So how many cases has been registered so far, and how many girls have come forward?
Initially we had received 1 complaint and we have registered a case, and 4 more complaints have been received. So we are taking their statements, and today we will register 4 new cases. The general content of the complaint is that they were forced to remove the innerwear, and rather they have even been told that whether you will choose your future or innerwear. That is what has been said in the complaint. So now once we investigate and take statements of other people as well, we will be able to know what exactly has happened.
An action has been finally taken over the harassment of NEET aspirants in Kollam, Kerala. 5 people are being questioned, of which 3 are from agency and 2 are from college. The 2 from the college are sweepers, and their presence was identified by the students when they were being humiliated. That's the news really coming in. That action has been taken. There are about 5 people who have been identified and are presently being questioned. 3 are from the external agency, which was responsible for security. 2 is internal staff. Neetu Regu Kumar getting us all the details on the broadcast. Neetu, over to you. Take us through the details.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Neetu, we're talking about the story where, female girl students had to face harassment in Kollam. There was much uproar, and there was an investigation also that was ordered. Tell us about the preliminary investigation details which are emerging.
See, as of now, what we know is that the police have taken into custody 5 people. I mean, they are in custody for questioning, and all these are female staff. And this includes 3 from the agency and 2 from the college. And the 2 from the college are basically sweepers. They are being questioned at the moment, and once their details are ascertained and what is the exact role that they played, then the police will move on to the next procedure, that is taking them, recording their arrest. But that will take some time, and only after that we'll know how many of them from this will be accused in this case. But right now, 5 of them are being questioned, 3 from the agency and 2 from the college.
All right, so that's the information really coming in. My colleague Neetu Regukumar is getting us all the details on this very important story. Neetu, as you get us all those details and you're telling us that 5 people have been quizzed, they are into custody right now, they are being questioned right now. How many complainants have really come forward? We'll try and connect with my colleague Neetu and get more details on that story. But that's the word really coming in, that the police authorities have taken action on the complaint that was received from the girl students. That report and much more on our website news18.com. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.
Lawrence Bishnoi, operating from inside the Tihar jail with impunity, had no qualms ordering multiple hits on Salman Khan.
The sculptor himself, the main man behind this, is saying that there is actually no difference.
Drugs to try and fund their terror operations and to also try and radicalize young, impressionable minds while confining them to the throes of drug addiction.
What is becoming increasingly worrying and problematic is that issues related to education is becoming so polarizing.
Been reported in Kerala. The patient is a 31-year-old who returned recently from Dubai. He tested positive in Kannur. The centre has directed ports and airports to ensure strict health screening of all international passengers to contain the spread of monkeypox in India. Heavy rains have left Maharashtra reeling from deadly floods.
Yavatmal is one of the worst affected districts. An orange alert has been issued as the rains continue to lash Yavatmal. More than 900 people have been evacuated from flooded houses in Maharashtra's Chandrapur district. With monsoon at its peak, water level in dams in Amravati have reached a danger mark. More than 100 people have died due to rains and floods in Maharashtra so far this month.
After 70 years, India is set to be the home of cheetahs. African cheetahs will find a new home in the Madhya Pradesh National Park. In fact, it's being brought under the Intercontinental Translocation Project. An MOU will be signed with South Africa. For the program, preparations have been on for housing 12 to 15 cheetahs. From August, the fastest animal on earth was declared extinct in India in 1952. A Delhi court upheld the conviction of Sushil and Gopal Ansal for tampering with evidence in the connection with the 1997 Upar cinema fire, which claimed 59 lives. The court will hear fresh arguments for the quantum of sentence tomorrow. One co-accused in the case, Anup Singh, has been acquitted. The CBI has registered a case against former IOA President Narendra Batra in an alleged corruption case. The agency also conducted searches at his premises in 5 locations in Delhi and Jammu. Earlier this year, the CBI received a complaint alleging that 35 lakhs of Hockey India money was used for Batra's personal benefits. A damning report and new footage indicates police inaction during the mass shooting that took place at a school in Texas in Uvalde back in May.
An overall lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making. That's how a new investigation report describes the law enforcement response in the Uvalde school shooting. The report repeatedly notes a lack of clear command during the shooting. It lists 376 members of law enforcement on the scene, including many from federal agencies.
There is multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions.
But investigators didn't find any responders acted maliciously. In fact, these officers helped children and teachers escape.
I got another kid. What are we doing here?
The report gives families more answers, but little comfort.
Meanwhile, in New York, there were long queues of people waiting to get the monkeypox vaccine. With nearly 500 cases, the city has become the epicenter of the outbreak of the disease in the US. But only 9,200 slots became available on a dedicated website this weekend. Within 7 minutes, all slots were full. The race for the next UK PM is heating up. The Conservative Party leadership contest is now headed to its final stage, and former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak looks certain to be one of the top 2 candidates to replace Boris Johnson. UK's former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch is the wild card in this tightly contested race. So where do things stand right now for Rishi Sunak? Round 1 of voting, it happened on the 13th of July. He secured 88 votes, which was the highest of all the candidates. He was ranked number 1. Round 2 happened on the 14th of July. He secured 101 votes in that as well. Again, he led the pack of Conservative hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands. There are still more.
Namaste, you're on The Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan coming to you live from the newsroom here at CNN News 18. Plenty to share with you this Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. But the biggest aspect, and this is the big CNN News 18 exclusive, that this is a nation that has now lost all narratives. And the only narrative that it realizes that is going to keep it afloat and keep its population keep its people absolutely perhaps in the throes of Maya or illusion, is this narrative around Kashmir. And CNN News 18 is now blowing the lid of Pakistan's renewed push towards Kashmir. They are making a clear push, and this is a CNN News 18 exclusive, and they are trying to reignite Mission Kashmir. The Kashmir blueprint